Hello and welcome to another episode of Open Mic Night. I am Mike Uyghur, your host. This is a product of UyghurTech.com. I'm so happy you guys joined me for another week. I'm happy you guys are here, that you guys are watching or listening to the podcast. We got a lot of fun stuff to talk about this week, a lot of things that I think you guys will enjoy. And if you guys are new to the show, we cover the news. I give you guys some picks of the week, things that I like, and also a tip of the week. So welcome to anyone that's new. I actually know that there are a few new people listening this week. So welcome to you guys. And I also answer some questions from the viewers. But the first thing I want to talk about is actually not a tech story at all. The first thing I want to talk about was a story that happened to me yesterday. Yesterday, I go out to the parking lot from work, and I noticed that my tire's getting a little flat. It's actually pretty flat. But I think, I can probably make it to the gas station, pump it up with some air, and maybe actually make it to the dealership. So as I'm driving to the gas station, I am getting real close to the gas station, and I can just hear that it's like flapping. I mean, it is flat. So I pull into the gas station, and obviously the gas station, of course, has too tilted of a parking lot to change my tire in. So I kind of put it in neutral and roll into the next little parking lot right next to it, which is flat. And I'm starting to get out my jack, and of course, it's the second coldest day of the year here in Omaha. And I'm starting to get out my jack. I'm like, oh man, this is kind of unfortunate, but whatever. It's just a flat tire. I'll put on my spare. So as I'm getting out my spare and starting to get all the jack and little stuff out, this little car pulls up next to me, and this man hops out and asks me if I need help. Now, he didn't speak much English, but I could tell that that's kind of what he wanted to do. And I was like, well, I think I'm okay, but do you know much about cars? And he goes, just wait. And so he gets out this massive jack from his car, like a massive jack. And this guy could have been a pit crew for NASCAR, a one-man pit crew. He got my car jacked up, told me, put away that little jack, got my car jacked up, switched out the tire, put on my spare in like 3 minutes flat. And I was in awe, and I was so thankful to the guy. I was in my nice work clothes, and it was really cold, and he literally saved me probably, 45 minutes worth of work, especially with that huge jack. It took no time at all. And so I felt really bad. I didn't have any cash on me, and I'm just like, hey, let me fill your car up with gas. Let me do something for you. You literally saved me today. I am so thankful for you. And in his kind of broken English, he said, you today could be me tomorrow. And I was just kind of in awe, and he kind of, restored my faith in humanity with this story. And I was just so happy that there are people out there that are still like this. And I said, well, sir, I'll pass it on. And he said, that's what I want. And it just struck me. I literally called 3 people I knew right away, and I was just like, can you believe that there are still people out there that are this kind-hearted? And he drove a really bright colored car. And so in my peripheral, when I started to get stuff out of my car, I saw him drive by. And he literally flipped a real quick Yui on a one-way street because no one was coming to come help me. He didn't have to. It wasn't like he was sitting there in the parking lot next to me and felt obligated. No, this guy was passing by, saw me, spun around, and actually decided to help me out. And I just couldn't believe it. And so I just want to share that story with you guys. And I know it put a thought in my head. Anytime that I'm starting to think selfishly and stuff like that, which sometimes I'm guilty of, like we all are. It's things like this. It's things that people do like this that really kind of humble you and show you that maybe we should start thinking about others first. So my challenge to you guys this week as listeners is to go out and do something for someone else. I know I'm going to try to, and not just because this guy did this for me, not like because I feel guilty that I need to pass this on, but because I truly want to be like this gentleman. And he really just showed me that kindness, it can just affect someone's day. It literally brightened my day, my week, my month. I'll be telling this story for a while because it's something he didn't need to do, but it's something that he helped me out. And, I was being so selfish, and I'm like, man, I'm going to get my nice dress clothes dirty. When, this gentleman, he was driving kind of a beat-up car, and you could tell just worked with his hands all day. But he wasn't worried about anything. He wasn't worried about, being 10 minutes late home. Or he wasn't worried about anything like that. He just wanted to help someone, and he didn't want any compensation for it. And I just thought that was amazing. So I just want to share that story with you guys, and just do with it what you will. But I challenge you guys to go out and just do something. Random acts of kindness. Do it for others. I know we've been hearing that a lot lately, especially on, you see it on Facebook, but go out and do it because there are people out there that are deserving of it, and there are people out there that are doing it. And so I just, take that for what it is, but I wanted to share that story with you. Okay, so now we are going to get into some tech news, and the first tech story I think is hilarious. So what someone did was, if you guys have heard of Twitch, it is an online streaming service where you can go stream video games. And so maybe if you're not really into video games, you haven't heard of it. And I personally don't like watching other people play, so I don't really get on that much. But what happened in the past 2 weeks was phenomenal. So if you guys are familiar with Pokemon, maybe you are, maybe you're like me and played it as a kid. Pokemon Red was a game that came out a long time ago. I'm talking back when I was probably 6 or 7, right when I was in that prime stage for Pokemon. It's a black and white Nintendo Game Boy game. Someone ported that game onto the computer, and they streamed it live to Twitch, and somehow with their programming, they programmed it so that the live chat room that everyone could access was hooked up to the game and it was controlling what was happening in the game. And so what they had was if you typed A, B, up, down, left, right, that's what actually happened in the game. And they had over 1 million people play this game together. It was like a collaborative game. And they had anarchy mode and democracy mode. So obviously, if you have a bunch of people typing the same thing at once, you might, you're going to get lost. You're going to get stuck. People are, you're naturally not going to be able to work. So if that ever happened, they mentioned one time they were stuck in a cave on the game. They actually entered democracy mode, which meant they had to vote. You had to vote on which move to do next, and it kind of evened things out. But the shocker to me was that the game was beat primarily 98% of the time in anarchy mode, which meant that these players were, whenever the game was looking for something, it was just kind of picking up, the next thing of line of chat that someone was putting in there. And they actually beat the game. They beat it in, I think, 15 days, and it was so successful. Over 1 million people played it. They had a peak of, I want to say over 160,000. That number might be off, of live concurrent players. And I just think that's such a fun idea. So you take a chat room, and these genius programmers found out a way that people are typing. Everyone's playing this game. You had 160,000 people playing the game but with one player, and they were able to beat the game with it. It proved that this kind of groupthink sort of thing can actually work. And so I just thought that was a really cool story that someone was able to do that. Kind of fun. They're actually doing a new one. So if you just Google Twitch Pokemon, it'll probably come up. But they are now they beat Pokemon Red, and now they're doing another version of Pokemon. I think it's called Crystal. I don't know really my versions, but I think they just started a new one. So if you want to hop on, you can hop on and play with them. Anyone can do it. You don't need an account or anything like that. Just hop on, and in the chat, you're controlling the guy on the screen. So that was really cool. Just a fun idea, and it's kind of a cool way to think about technology. It shows the power of how the internet's bringing us together. And although it's something stupid like playing a game of Pokemon, it just shows the power of what you can do, and it shows the collaborative efforts, and it shows how when people come together, they do want to accomplish a common goal. That's what I thought was cool about this. You could have had 160,000 people just messing with the game, making people do weird stuff, trolling the game, making it not work. And yeah, they probably had a little bit of that, but in the end, everyone wanted to actually beat the game, and they did. And I thought that was really cool. So I want to share that story with you. Just a fun new technology story that you probably won't hear in mainstream media. So the next big news story is that if you have Apple products, any Apple products, I'm talking if you have iPad, iPhone, maybe even I think iPod Touch, and as well as laptops, desktops, all that sort of stuff, make sure you are going in and running the latest update. I believe for Mavericks, that's 10.9.2 on the desktop, and I'm not sure what it is on the iOS device. It's going to differ on which device you have. But basically, Apple had a huge bug, and they kind of wrapped the fix for the bug in a kind of a bigger update on the computer side. On the iPhone side, they were kind of straight up with what they did, but they had an SSL kind of problem, which is the encryption on your phone when you're accessing websites, and that's a bad description of what that actually is. But for all of us who just kind of want to know generally, it basically, when you're connecting to other websites, it's a certificate verification, certifying what sites you're on, what you actually want those sites to be able to do with your phone. And the break was that, there wasn't any certificate going out there. It was actually, it was failing twice, and so it was allowing any sort of certificates to come in. So to make a long story short, we could get into all the tech specs of it and what happened actually technically and in the lines of code. And if you guys want to know, if you guys want to talk about that, I'd love to email me, or we can set up a Skype call or stuff like that. I would love to kind of nerd out with you. But for the sake of the podcast, we're just going to say to go out and make sure you run the latest update. If you are on the computer, go to your app store and make sure the latest update has run. If you're on the phone, go into your settings under general and run that software update and make sure that's up to date. And if you are up to date, then you're fine. You have nothing to worry about. And on the computer side, if you really want to check if you are actually still susceptible to this bug, there's a website called GoToFail, GoToFail.com, and it'll actually test your website to make sure that your computer doesn't accept from them something that you shouldn't want them to accept. It's a safe site. I fully put my kind of stamp of approval on it to do a good test. All it is if your web browser is not secure, all it's going to load is an image. It's not going to pull down any malicious software or anything like that. But so go to gotofail.com on your computer just to see if your web browser is secure. Now, after the 10.9.2 update for Mavericks, I was fine. It put me in the green, but before that, I was in the red. It said you are susceptible to this hack. So that is what I wanted to share with you guys on the news. There's also some other news with Samsung, and they announced a lot of new phones and stuff like that. I'm not going to cover that primarily because I'm not huge into the Samsung phones, but just know if you go to Samsung website that you can go check out some of the new devices that they just came out with. They came out with a lot of new wearables and stuff like that. So go check it out. Something I'll just kind of mention in this side, but definitely nothing that I thought was, needed to be covered on the site. But so now we are moving on to the next section.
It's the Pics of the Week, baby.
That's right, it's the Pics of the Week. It's the part of the show where I pick things that I like and I use on a daily basis, and I think you guys would like too. So I have 2 picks this week. First one is fun and entertaining. The second one is actually very practical. So the first pick I have for you guys for this week is a game. It's the game Wheel of Fortune. I actually happened to catch Wheel of Fortune the other day, and it's something that I don't usually watch, but I started watching it, and I forgot how much I liked that show. And I was like, and they mentioned the game in the show, and of course I fell for their advertising, and I went to the App Store and I got it. And it's something I can't set down. It's a great game just so you can play when you're sitting around, have a little bit of free time. Maybe while you're going to the restroom. I don't know how many of you guys do that. But whenever you guys play games, it's just a fun game. It's just like the show. There doesn't need to be much explanation on this one. You guys can kind of see it right now, but you play against 2 other people. There's pass and play options, and you can also play against people on Facebook. So you can play with people in the same room, or you can play against your friends who also have the game, which is fun. I believe it was $2 when I bought it, so not too bad for a game, and it's actually really fun. And if you play in the solo type of the game where you just kind of go through single player, you actually work up to different stages of Jeopardy. So I got to the 20th anniversary edition because I won so much money, and it keeps track of how much money you've won. And it's kind of fun. It's a little bit, I'm not sure if it gets harder or if there's settings. I have been finding it's rather easy when you first start playing, and maybe as I level up, maybe it'll get harder. I'm not sure if it does or does not, but the computers don't really seem to, they miss a lot of the letters. And they're really slow to solve the puzzle. But that makes it kind of fun because then you win. So anyway, go check out Wheel of Fortune. It's on the App Store. I'm not sure if it's on the Google Play Store. I'm guessing it is, though. I would think it is, but I'm not sure. I play it on my iPad, but it's also available on the iPhone. The iPad is just a little bit bigger and a little bit nicer thing to play on. So that is my first pick of the week. My second pick of the week, like I said, is a more practical app. It is called iExpenseIt. Now, iExpenseIt is how I track my entire budget for my life. Now, so I have it set up, it's completely customizable. And what it does is it's really the best thing for it is tracking expenses. Every time you swipe your card, every time you pay cash for something, you have the option to go in and add an expense. And you can get into really fine detail if you want. I usually don't. I just put the name of the place. Like, okay, so if I went to Taco Bell for lunch today, I put Taco Bell, I put how much I spent. You can put categories on it like lunch, food, whatever you want like that. And I do for some things. And then it decreases from your budget. You can set your budget to be a monthly budget, a yearly budget. I set mine for every 2 weeks because that's how often I get paid. So mine resets on payday. And so I set in a budget of what I can spend in those 2 weeks before the next payday. And then as I'm entering in the expenses, there's actually just a perfect, easy to read little meter. And it goes down as you put more and more expenses. You can see how much of your budget you have left. And if you're like me, if you use your card for a lot of things, your debit card, it's a really good way to keep track of expenses because a lot of times, you don't want to have to get on and check your bank statement online every time. I know that's convenient, but this is just an app that if you get in the habit of entering in your expenses, then it's really easy. And it has a lot of nice graphing features. You can export graphs and see what exactly you're spending money on. Obviously, in that case, then it would help to go in and put in the categories of what you're buying. If you have to go fix your car, go in and put that it was a car expense. And then when you can run these little graphs and it'll show you how much you're spending on certain stuff. And then you can start to see, okay, maybe I'm spending a lot on fast food. Maybe I should start eating in more. Or you can make certain decisions like that. But I really like it. When I bought it a long time ago and it was $5. I'm not sure how much it is now. But I will put a link to it down in the show. And obviously you guys can see I was just showing you some of the screens there just give you a gist of what the app looks like. But yeah, it's iExpenseIt, and it's in the App Store, and I would definitely recommend it. It saves my life just because when I do want to go have, a thing of ice cream, I can check my iExpenseIt app and say, maybe that's not the best idea because I'm running low on my budget and I still got 5 days left. But it's just a really good way to keep track of your life. I really suggest it for college students. A lot of us in the college age, we're not used to working on a budget yet, but I think an app like this keeps you on budget, and it really teaches you, it kind of ingrains in you how you spend money. That's the biggest thing for me. I've been using it for 3 years, and when I first started using it, it was shocking to me how much money I was spending on certain things, primarily food, and I really realized how much you can save by eating in. Or, you really start to see, if you're a big online shopper, it adds up, and you can see a graph of how much money you're spending in your online stuff, and it's just nice. It's a really good app to use for expenses. And so go check that out. It's iExpenseIt. I think it's $4 to $5 in the App Store. I'll check on that, but I will post a link to it in the show notes so you guys can go grab it. So those are my picks of the week. That is what I got for you guys. And so now we're going to move into my tip of the week. Now, my tip of the week, you guys could say, is also a pick of the week, but my tip of the week is to use the app called Gimp. Now, for those of you who don't know what Gimp is, think of Photoshop dumbed down. So for a lot of us, we need something like Photoshop. We need a photo editor that can do a little more than maybe the iPhoto on our computer, but we definitely don't need the full Photoshop. I am not a professional photographer by any means, but there's a lot of times for my website, for certain things where I need to go in and I need to clean up an image. And I just need the basic tools. I need a smudge tool, I need a stamper tool, I need an erase tool. Maybe I want to add some text over it. And I don't have the massive amounts of money that is required to buy Photoshop. So I would suggest, if you are in the same situation, if you even want to try, if you're thinking about getting into Photoshop, go grab Gimp first. It's GIMP, and again, I'll put a link to it. It runs a lot like Photoshop. Now, all you pro users of Photoshop out there, don't jump down my throat saying, oh, it's awful, it's not good. I know. It's nothing comparable to Photoshop. But if you're just getting into it and you need some of the basic tools and you don't need a lot of the professional stuff, I tell you to go try it, and I'm telling you this because it's free. Absolutely free. So why not go give it a try? Even if you're thinking about getting into Photoshop, it has layers. Learning how Photoshop worked with layers. I have worked with Photoshop in the past, and just learning how Photoshop works is kind of a process. And if you kind of want to see if that process is going to be workable for you, if you kind of want to see, oh, is a learning curve, is that something I can deal with? Go download GIMP and work with it. And then it'll kind of show you, okay, well, yeah, I can adapt to that Photoshop style. I can do that. That's something I can do. Or if you're like me and you just want a free piece of software that does a lot of really cool, fun photo editing stuff, why not go download it? It's free. So that's GIMP. Again, I'll put a link to it. But that's my tip. I had someone basically in my life that really wanted to start doing basic photo editing for a personal site of theirs. And they said, hey, Photoshop is so expensive, but iPhoto doesn't do a lot of things I needed to. I need erase tools. I need stuff like that. I just need to blend some images together. I told them about GIMP, and they loved it. They came back to me and said, why would I ever buy Photoshop? And I said, well, as you get further along, you will find things that GIMP doesn't have that Photoshop does. But until you get to that point, I agree. Why buy Photoshop? I'm not to that point yet. I honestly couldn't even tell you some of the things that GIMP doesn't have that Photoshop does because, like I said, I'm not a huge Photoshop user and I'm not a huge photo editor. I'm sure you can find blogs about that online, but go online and I'm sure there's a lot of articles that compare GIMP to Photoshop. But that's my tip of the week. Go grab GIMP. Even if you don't need it, just go grab it and have it on your computer because someday in the future you'll want to edit a photo. I guarantee it. And you'll say, oh yeah, Mike taught me about that GIMP. I heard that'd be a good idea. So go grab that. Well, guys, it's been another great week of the Open Mic Night. I'm so glad you guys were here. I'm so glad you guys listened. We're getting a lot of cool new viewers. We're getting a lot of podcast listeners, and we're starting to get up there in a little more of the YouTube views. So if you haven't yet, go tell someone about the website, WeagerTech.com. Maybe they'll find something useful. Give them my email address. Say, hey, if they have a tech problem, give them my email address. I'm totally fine with that. If they have something that's not working in their home, if their Wi-Fi is not working, if someone asks you a tech question and you don't know the answer, and you think maybe Mike can handle that, give them my email address. It's mike@WeagerTech.com. And that's going to be right here. Mike@WeagerTech.com. Give them my email address, seriously, and have them email me because I love helping people. I've been responding to people's emails for the past few weeks and really... hopefully helping some people out. I hope you guys who I've responded to, I hope it's helped you a little bit and helped you through your problem. But yeah, let people know about that. Also, Twitter me @MWeager. Tweet at me, Twitter me, whatever it's called. and do that sort of thing. If you guys watch on YouTube and you just want to be able to listen into your car, remember that this is a podcast too, and you can find that on iTunes. And that's available on all the podcast apps. If you just search Open Mic Night, or better yet, search Uyghur Tech. That usually brings it up a little more. On the Mic Night, it's a lot of times when you search that, you'll get a lot of other, obviously, Open Mic Nights as an MIC. It autocorrects you. So search Uyghur Tech, and you will find the podcast there. It's in audio form. And for you audio listeners, come check us out on YouTube. It's obviously fun that I can show you guys some stuff. Like tonight, I was able to show you some of the apps I was using on the video. And but it's up to you. You choose how you consume this media. You guys are great. Love all of you. And until next week, tech on.